To become a ghost hunter, you need to be part detective, part investigative reporter, a scientist, with a measure of the psychologist thrown in.
Peter Underwood, you are president of the Ghost Club in England, which makes you one of the leading ghost hunters.
And the Ghost Club, which you're now president of, was founded in 1862, when the whole subject wasn't perhaps taken seriously as it is now. There were a lot of charlatans around out to make a quick quid out of it.
That's right, yes. And indeed, the Ghost Club was originally founded for the express purpose of exposing those sort of people.
Recently, I've been reading one of the books from Peter Underwood, an old school, now legendary English paranormal researcher, parapsychologist, and of course author. His techniques that he used when out paranormal investigating are now very old school to me, just because they were so long ago, and I absolutely love his approach to investigating. We're now so used to seeing people with flashing gadgets, beeping devices, aren't we? So I'm taking some inspiration from him and doing a video soon, going over the more old school techniques. But he uses some of these unusual techniques in a story he tells in one of his books, and I thought it was great. What happened was, he once investigated a case of apparent poltergeist activity, where most of the alleged phenomena took place in the vicinity of a young girl. After hearing the whole story from the family, he discovered, after careful examination of the house, which included measuring various distances and carefully exploring the time involved to do so, that it would have been possible for the girl to have been consciously responsible for everything that had happened. He had no option but to make an experiment that would eliminate her from his investigations, or to see if there was some foul play. As with many poltergeist stories, there were several items that seemed to attract the attention of the supposed spirit. In this case, one of them was a potted plant that stood in the girl's bedroom on a saucer. Peter was told that time after time, this plant, in its plant pot but minus the saucer, somehow made its way to various parts of the house. And the most strange place was the girl's father's study, which she wasn't allowed to enter. And of course, the room was kept locked. Very strange indeed. I mean, even if it was a poltergeist, how is it getting it in a room where the door is locked and it's got no access? So, although that sounds very odd and spooky, and it's a great little tale to tell people about the house, ooh, this strange thing keeps happening and we don't know what's going on, Peter had his suspicions. So, what happened was, without anyone in the house knowing what he was up to, he removed the plant from its flower pot and inserted at the base a small tin filled with sand. The tin had a tiny hole in the bottom in the same position as the hole in the bottom of the flower pot. He then placed everything back where it was and made sure that no one would notice that it had been touched. When the girl went to bed for the night, he secured a small thin piece of black cotton across her bedroom door, so that the door couldn't be opened without the cotton breaking. He also placed a super thin layer of petroleum jelly mixed with some purple dye on the underside of a door handle. Finally, he sprinkled a little bit of flour mixed with soot right outside the girl's door. So, a couple of hours later, Peter was doing a routine check of the downstairs rooms, accompanied by another investigator and the girl's parents. They discovered the potted plant standing on a shelf in the locked study. I mean, wow, how freaky would that be? The stories are true. Peter then explained that his researches so far had suggested that the girl may be responsible for some of the activity. He then revealed the measure he'd taken to test the theory. I can imagine the parents weren't too pleased about Peter seemingly blaming their daughter for this strange poltergeist activity that has supposedly been plaguing their house. Possibly a little insulted, the father pointed out that it couldn't have possibly been his daughter, as there's only one key to the study. And then he pulled it out of his pocket to show Peter. Wow, they found the potted plant in the room, in the locked study, but the key to the room has been in his pocket the whole time? What is going on? That is amazing, right? Well, they carefully lifted up the potted plant and a tiny trickle of sand fell through the hole in the bottom. The four then looked around and found trickles of the sand across the room towards the open window. Oh no! They then went outside with their torches and picked up a trail of sand. They followed it around the house, into the back door, through the kitchen, into the hall, up the stairs, where it disappeared into the young girl's room. Oh dear! The cotton seal on the girl's door was broken. They all stormed into the girl's room and found her awake. So Peter asked to see her hands, and guess what? On both hands there were traces of the purple dye that he'd placed on the underside of the door handle. If she seen it, I can imagine she was like, oh no, what have I done? What is this? It won't come off. It's dyed into my skin. Panicking in her bedroom. He then asked to see her feet. I bet she didn't think of that as well, did she? On both feet, there were traces of the black soot that was mixed with the flour, which of course he placed right outside of her door. Debunked. The cheeky little thing. No doubt these strange stories from this supposed haunted house started to get passed around. The family were probably getting laughed at. The parents were probably frightened to death, worrying that something is in the house with the power to move physical objects, possibly the power to cause harm to their daughter, who, like Peter said, that things seemingly were centering around her. Never mind them probably going insane. Of course, them knowing the father had the only key to the door, and never imagining it could be their own daughter doing this. I mean, what was all this about? Just a prank? I mean, it seems a bit strange to me. Was she desperate for some attention? The thing is though, it's not the only case, is it, that we've heard of where supposed poltergeist activity has centered around young girls. And also not the only case where we've heard of them pulling pranks. I thought that was pretty damn funny, and I absolutely love the steps Peter took here to figure out what was really going on. This is debunking at its finest. I mean, who'd have imagined she was doing that? Like I said as well, if you want to check out Peter Underwood, you can get plenty of books out there. He's done books on all kinds of things, and he covers such interesting topics. So, as I mentioned at the start, I'm going to be going over more old school techniques like this soon, so please make sure to stick around and check that out. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free, and you won't miss out on any other videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.